one of my dearest friends. Just happens to be one of the most powerful women in America. Her name is Tulsi Gabbard, and she's currently the director of the National Intelligence Agency. She's also a dear friend of Charlie Kirk. Tulsi was often on the road with him and went to college campuses with him. I specifically remember one time when she went to U of A and there was a massive turnout for both of them. So you can see her sitting in outdoor tents, much like he did, to have a conversation with people that disagreed with them on college campuses. There's them at Turning Point, and had been on the road with him and known him personally many times. Tulsi, thank you for taking time to come on my little show this morning. I love you. And I was just saying, I like so many tens, if not hundreds of millions of Americans, as having a really hard time processing all of this. I'm having not only a crisis of faith, but I feel like a little bit of a crisis of patriotism. And first and foremost, I just want to ask you how you're feeling. Not only are you a very important figure in our administration, in our country, but this has personally impacted you. Charlie was a close friend of yours, and he was also, very integral in so many things in your life and your career. How are you feeling personally?
Yeah, Megan, it's good to see you. I just want to make sure. Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you great.
It's been obviously a very difficult time, to say the least. Flood of emotion and different feelings since Charlie was killed on September 10th. But ultimately, what I have found to be so incredible and so awesome and really the most powerful testament to Charlie as a person, Charlie's heart, the mission that he dedicated his life to, his love for Jesus Christ is what has come from the ashes here in the wake of his assassination. To see people from all different backgrounds, all across the country, small town squares. I've gotten so many different pictures from people that I know personally who've been sending me the vigils that have been held in their own communities, their own college campuses, and of course in major sporting arenas. Yesterday, different football games, different concert arenas, both here in the United States and in other parts of the world, people in South Korea, people in the UK, people across Europe, people who may not have ever met Charlie Kirk, but who were deeply impacted and who recognize that Charlie Kirk would not have wanted anyone to go out in the street and riot and protest and conduct acts of violence. The response that we are seeing from people is a true reflection of how Charlie lived his life and how he communicated with people, how he treated people, and truly his mission, which was all really centered around love. Love for God and love for each other, love for our country, our Constitution, love for his family. And that's a really beautiful thing. And it's what inspires hope, is that there are countless numbers of people around the world who are now inspired in ways perhaps they never have been before, to reflect on their own lives, to recognize that none of us knows how much time that we have in this world and in this body. And so it is an important opportunity to take a step back and to really reflect and meditate and pray on how can I use my life in service to God to make a positive impact on others, to serve that higher purpose, to put service above self, because none of us knows when our time will come.
Tulsi, I think obviously that's so important. And last night I had the honor of going with you to the Kennedy Center event, honoring the vigil, honoring Charlie Kirk. And one of the things you said that is impacting so many people, you had a friend text you saying that Charlie was all about peace and meeting in the middle and trying to have discussions. And you have a friend that said it didn't work, and you said it did. I was not that friend that texted you that, but I share this fellow friend's sentiments. I'm not in a mood to meet with the other side right now. I don't feel like I have it in me right now to find what unites us rather than divides us, because I do feel like there is legitimacy to the claim that the violence is being mostly aimed at our side. What do you say to people who are in this headspace? I'm sure it won't last forever, but people that just feel completely isolated and like this country's just completely splitting in half.
It is important in the midst of all of these what are really natural feelings that you and that all of us were going through and processing what just happened, not only to our friend, but what has been exposed, the evil, the darkness that exists in our country and in the world. And I just encourage people to look at Charlie's example, look at the example set by people like Martin Luther King, those who have faced incredible adversity in their lifetimes and consistently, not a one-off, but consistently chose the path of love and respect and dialogue. And, we've seen videos of Charlie or been in the presence of Charlie when he's had fierce debates, screaming at people, and the other side screaming back. So this is, as I said last night at the Kennedy Center, this is not, should not be misunderstood that love means weakness or love means rolling over if someone is coming at you and attacking you or your ideas. Love is strength. Love is the most powerful thing. And it takes many different shapes. It is that strength and that courage that we must draw upon right now during a time where many may be confused about, what do I do now? How do I respond? How do I move forward? How do I engage with people? And when that opportunity presents itself, whether you seek it out or it comes to you, it is important that we look to the example that Charlie set and others have set in choosing that path of love and confronting that hate and darkness and evil with love, and not allowing any ourselves to succumb to responding to hate with hate, because that's where we find ourselves as a country and as a people in a very rapid spiral downward.
Can you tell me a little bit about what Charlie was like personally? I know you guys are very close friends. I saw our mutual friend Blake put a picture up of all of you guys at dinner. I think somewhat recently you were on the road with him a lot. I can remember you doing turning point events with him, and one at the University of Arizona that was just massive and had a huge, enormous, thousands and thousands of people turn out. What was he like behind the scenes, and what was he like personally with you?
He was incredibly kind. I really just got to know him over the last few years. There are others who've known him a lot longer than I have, but he welcomed me in like I was a member of his family, like we were longtime friends. And, in the midst of, one event to the next event and travel from here to there, or trying to grab a bite to eat in between things, Charlie was exactly who he is. He never pretended to be somebody that he wasn't. It's authentic, sincere, and very, very focused and mission driven in everything that he did. He looked beyond the boundaries that many others, especially in the political world, felt were the limits. And this was really where the impact that we are seeing Charlie had on people came from. Is he didn't allow himself to exist within these unfortunate silos that exist within our country and certainly within politics. It's why he went places where no one else had gone before him, to have the conversations other people weren't having, to record them, to put them online, to put them on TikTok and Instagram, so that others far outside of the physical reach would actually be able to see them, be impacted, and be inspired by him. I got to know Charlie's wife, and to see them together, it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing to see this couple who were best friends and completely aligned in their mission and supporting each other in their service. I'm really grateful to have been a very small part of Charlie's work, and have been able to join him at some of these different things. And he helped me going through this confirmation process to the position that I am in today, that President Trump nominated me when he nominated me Director of National Intelligence. Charlie was one of the first people that I spoke to, both before and after that. And Charlie did so much behind the scenes that he never spoke about publicly and that people never saw publicly, to be able to help get the right people in the right positions to be able to help President Trump carry out his agenda, knowing that he needed that. The president needed to have the best people around him. Uh, some of the lessons learned from the first administration in order to carry out the promises that he made to the American people. I can't even tell you how many times we called Charlie and said, "Hey, we could use your help with this or that," and his answer was like, "Yep, on it, always." And you know, like I said before, he did a lot even behind the scenes that he would never even tell me about, and I'd find out about it from somebody else. And he never, ever, ever wanted credit, ever.
Yeah, I can remember how I met him was obviously through you, and during your confirmation hearings, he had me on his show, just to talk about how all of us could be effective in making sure that you got confirmed. And he was so warm and welcoming, and he seemed to really understand that you could have been a Democrat 5 seconds ago, but if you want to join the movement, you're welcome. Which, for
Yeah.
me, even at the time, was such a refreshing, vibe to hear, because there's just so many people that have a different perspective. Why was he so including of everyone? Maybe that's a quite hard question to answer, but he really, like RFK last night at the vigil, said the reason why he ended up endorsing Trump was because of Charlie, which is really quite incredible.
You know, I'll never presume to speak for him, but from my vantage point, what I saw was that Charlie saw in real time in his conversations with people on these college campuses the ability to cause people to think, to rethink their positions, to have real dialogue and conversation where if they weren't won over in the debate, which many were, then they probably walked away saying, gosh, maybe I really need to do more research. I need to learn more. I need to really think about the positions that I thought were right or the policies that I thought were right. And I think Charlie saw what was possible in that phenomena that occurred across these campuses that he visited, in people thinking, actually thinking, and not just being blind followers on any side. And that's a wonderful and beautiful and important thing. And so I think when we went into President Trump's campaign, Charlie recognized both with me and our Bobby Kennedy Jr. as people who had been former Democrats, the opportunity to really bring together more Americans who care deeply about our country, who care about each other as fellow Americans, not Democrats, Republicans, or independents, but really care about each other and care about common sense and do right and wrong, and saw an opportunity to really help President Trump build this really unique and unprecedented historic coalition that would enable the president and us to be able to carry out those policies, putting the American people first.
Yeah, no, and he really seemed to understand how vital people like you were to getting Trump over the finish line to be president and bringing in a whole new swath of voters. You know this story already, but my dear friend Sarah Scarborough's son, Colton, was a massive fan of Charlie Kirk, massive. And you and Charlie both facilitated sending him a giant box of hats and Turning Point swag and a beautiful sign letter from Charlie that I know now he is framing and treasuring, and a hat that was sent.
Let me just jump
Sure.
in there for a second because I'll just tell you how it happened. You sent me a note about your friend Sarah's son,
Mhm.
and I sent the note to Charlie, and immediately within minutes, Charlie replied and said, like, that's amazing. I could probably look it up. I still have it in my phone. He's like, that's amazing. This is so awesome. Please get me his address because I want to send him something. And then within a
Yep.
few days, you sent me the video of Colton opening up this amazing care package that Charlie had sent him.
Yeah. And it was within a few days. And Colton was one of how it even came up in conversation with my friend is Colton is a really good kid. He is smart. He plays football. He is academically inclined. He goes to church all the time. And I said, how do you raise a child like this? Because this is the example. And Sarah said, it's parenting, but it's Charlie Kirk has been an incredible influence on him. And he listens to his show every day. And I have her permission to share that this has obviously hit Colton very, very hard. As you can only imagine, someone who is a super fan, and Colton's in high school. I know he's not the only young man in the country that is having an extremely difficult time. What do you say to not only parents but anybody in the country that is just grieving the death of a figure who has inspired them in so many different ways. And I know generations before have done it with, like, like you said, Martin Luther King and people like that, but this is unique and new to our generation.
Yeah. Just keep looking to Charlie's example and think about, what would Charlie want you to do right now? Even as in a state of grief, your instinct may be just to collapse, to kind of curl up in a corner and not face the harsh reality of what occurred, and have to face the questions you would likely be asking yourself about, what do I do? What do I do? Charlie, through his example, through his life's mission and work, showed exactly what he would want Colton and so many others to do, to carry on, to speak the truth. Don't allow anyone to terrorize or intimidate or bully you into silence. Don't allow this assassin to terrorize you into silence. To make Charlie proud and happy would be to continue Charlie's work in whatever way, shape, or form that takes for any one individual to continue to be a defender of freedom, a defender of the Constitution, and to continue to have the kinds of conversations that Charlie had, where even if they start in a heated and fierce debate, walk away knowing that you treated each other with respect as children of God. This is what I spoke about last night at the Kennedy Center, was for the real meaning of aloha. In my home state, why we greet each other with aloha. People say, oh, does it mean hello or goodbye? Neither. It doesn't mean either one of those things. We greet each other with aloha so that we can start a conversation with the most fundamental truth in saying, I see you as a fellow child of God, and as such, treat you with respect. And that allows for a deeper, meaningful dialogue and exchange than if we were to just remain on the superficial level of labels and partisanship and, are you this or are you that? Are you for me? Are you against me? Have the kind of dialogue inspired by that aloha that Charlie had countless times with people all over the world.
I hear that and receive that, and I love whenever you say aloha in any context, because you embody the spirit of it so much. I think one of the things that I'm fearful of right now is I've had a lot of time since last Wednesday to ruminate and think about what's going on in our country. And one of the concerns I have is I do think what happened to Charlie is a buildup of the extreme rhetoric that's been happening over the past 5 years. I kept thinking about in 2020 when so many people on the left were saying words are violence. And when you say something because words are violence, then violence is okay. And mostly peaceful protesting with buildings on fire. And there's a bunch of data that has recently come out saying that a lot of Democrats overwhelmingly believe that violence can be an answer for free speech, and they're comfortable with that. I do not know what to do with that. That is a new paradigm for this country. It's a new paradigm for me to even think about. How do we push through this? How do I have conversations with someone on the far left who thinks that violence towards anyone is somewhat acceptable?
Those conversations, their approach must be exposed for the vile, evil darkness that it is, which is rooted in the weakness of their positions. The reason why this is where they land, that they think that this is the approach that's necessary to censor those they disagree with, or to silence them by some means, whether it's an act of violence or intimidation or bullying. It is obviously a very, very dangerous situation, and their approach must be defeated by the superior argument that's really rooted in the foundational principles of our country, of the vision that our founders had for us. And obviously, those who choose to resort to violence must be held accountable with the full force of the law. That accountability is essential. So the answer is quite clear. Those who are being exposed for their weakness of their argument, those who are being exposed for the vile, evil darkness that they are embodying, the path that they have chosen. We have the responsibility and the opportunity to take action to expose them for what they are. We cannot allow ourselves to be reduced to that level when our arguments, our ideas, our policies are superior because they are rooted in the values and principles enshrined in our founding documents, and they are rooted in our God-given rights and freedoms that are enshrined in those documents.
Are you surprised by how many people are grieving as hard as they are who didn't know Charlie? I even have friends, like I have a friend who's a Democrat who is just despondent over this because I think it is about Charlie, obviously, but it's also about a sickness in our
Yeah.
country and a sickness in our culture. And I think demonic forces that have been unleashed recently for
Yeah.
a whole variety of reasons that we all have to fight and be extremely vigilant about. But are you surprised? I've never experienced anything like this in my life. Every time I think
Yeah.
I've experienced it all, I have not experienced anything like my reaction to seeing the horrific execution and then this response on Thursday after it happened. I had to cancel my meetings in the morning and I stayed in bed for a few hours and just I couldn't I felt like I needed to just be quiet and pray and meditate and just take solace when I could. Are you surprised how much this is impacting our country?
I think again, it really speaks to the impact that Charlie had, in the midst of that darkness, I have found that light that really shines through from Charlie's heart. I've heard from people who I know, as well as people I don't know and have never met, who are sending me DMs on social media saying things like, I prayed for the first time in over 10 years. People who are talking to God and seeking shelter in God and asking for help to try to make sense of what just happened and to, provide the strength to be able to find the right way forward. And this really is such a beautiful thing that again can only be inspired by somebody who was motivated with this uh, powerful, powerful love. He dedicated his life to his mission. He dedicated his life to Jesus Christ, and uh, there are so many examples of Charlie in moments of victory or success, political or otherwise. He never took credit for himself, and he continually said, "This is all God." And people are seeing that and reacting to it, and it should give us all hope for our future to see those who'd never met him before now turning to God, maybe for some for the very first time.
Where do you find this strength? Because, we're very good friends and I talked to you right after it happened. And even in that moment when I was really angry and freaked out and melting down, you have this beautiful faith that never wavers about the good and the light and seeing the light instead of getting wrapped up in darkness and evil. Where does that come from? And what would you say to people who are having a harder time with their faith and spirituality in this moment?
Just look to God who sits within every one of our hearts. I deployed overseas with the military a few times in different combat zones in different parts of the world, and in some of the harshest environments, in a place in Iraq, for example, where every day I served in a medical unit and every day was confronted with death or severe injury, the human cost of war, and every day um, having the choice to what am I going to do? Am I going to allow myself to fall into a state of just grief and confusion and darkness and getting lost in that, or take shelter in really the only place where real shelter can be found, and that's in God's love and having a personal loving relationship with God and talking to God. And if you're feeling angry, tell God, I'm angry. I don't know
Mhm.
what to do. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. If you're confused or you're sad or maybe you're hopeful, have that conversation with God and know that and have faith that He will guide you through. You ask for help, God will help you. He's waiting for every one of us to turn to Him. But that's where our free will comes into place. And this is the beauty of the First Amendment of the Constitution, in our right to and freedom to worship as we choose or not at all. And it is our choice. And so, not only in times of darkness and loss and tragedy, can we choose to turn to God to be our best friend, to hold our hand and love us as we find our way through, with His light of love shining the way. But also, and I saw this in Charlie, is during times of success, where it can be easy to get lost, and kind of fall off the path in sadness and in happiness. Give praise and thanks to God, and always hold Him close.
Yeah, I saw a tweet someone put out, which was a text, and I apologize, I don't remember who, between them and Charlie, and they were congratulating Charlie on something, and he said it's always important to be humble and remember, like, we're servants of God, and he just it's incredible how evolved he was as a human at such a young age in so many different ways to even remind yourself of that. And he had many massive successes. Tulsi, you are one of the busiest people on all of planet Earth. I really appreciate you taking time to come
Thank you
on the
for
show
having me.
today. I just want to tell you that I love you so much. You're so important to me. You're so important to this country. You bring hope and light in such darkness. And you make many sacrifices for this country as well, and I'm so grateful. And my life is so much brighter with you in it in so many different ways, always. And I just love you, and I just want
Thank
to
you.
thank you.
I love you
And
back, Megan. You're my
I
family. You know
know,
this.
I know.
And I appreciate that even if I can't answer your texts and don't get a chance to call you for a while, I appreciate you always understand.
Well, you normally do, but yes, I always remind myself that you're trying to save the world and make sure that nothing bad happens to the country, which is an incredibly important job. But I love you, and like I said, stay strong, and thank you for coming on, and thank you for your light this morning, and aloha.
Thank you. Aloha. Thank you, Megan.